Hi, everybody. Welcome to week number 6 of our Bible Together reading program here at First Christian Church in Jefferson City, Missouri. This week in our readings so far, I keep noticing the same question echoes underneath everything for me. And that question is, what is freedom for? In Exodus 16, the people are complaining at Moses for bringing them out into the wilderness in the first place because they are afraid. Ultimately, though, Moses reminds them that their complaints are not against Moses, but against God. It was God who brought them out of Egypt. And yet, God does not respond to their complaining with punishment, but with provision. Manna from heaven for them to eat, water from a rock when they were thirsty. God provides abundance in the middle of the wilderness. Freedom begins with grace. Then something really interesting happens. God doesn't just provide for their needs physically. God begins forming structure for them to live within. Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, shows up again, and he sees Moses about to collapse under the weight of leadership. And Jethro says, "This isn't good. Share the burden." You see, already God is shaping a different kind of community, one where leadership is shared and burnout isn't glorified. Then at Mount Sinai, the people promise to belong to God, to obey God's laws. And we start reading about a lot of those laws, and some of them might make us uncomfortable, especially the ones about slavery. But in their ancient context, these laws are radically limiting power. They restrict revenge, and they protect the vulnerable. They insist that justice is something that restores balance rather than something that escalates violence. God freed the people of Israel from Pharaoh, but he does not free them so that they can become little pharaohs to each other. When we turn to read Ephesians, we hear Paul telling the followers of Christ to be humble, be gentle, bear with one another in love. There are different gifts for different people. He talks about mutual submission of wives and husbands, of children and parents, of slaves and masters. Finally, he tells them, put on the armor of God, because our struggle is not against flesh and blood. And that might be the key. Freedom in Christ is not permission to dominate. It's not a license to fight each other. It's a calling to resist the real enemy, the spiritual forces that distort power and divide communities and convince us that control is the same thing as strength. What if these readings are teaching us that God feeds even complainers? God limits the powerful and protects the vulnerable. God shares leadership. And God calls us to wield power faithfully and sacrificially. Freedom is not the absence of authority, it's the transformation of it. So maybe this week we ask ourselves, where has God given me power? In my home, my church, my work? And am I using it the way Pharaoh did or the way Christ does? That's all for this week, folks. See you again next week for week 7. Thanks for joining.